Hey folks, welcome back to Naman Reviews. Today we're looking at Superman and Krypto by Hot Toys. And I am super excited for this one. I grew up in the Middle East where we didn't get many movies. However, I did have Christopher Reeve's Superman 1 and 2, which I treasured and sometimes watched every day. I also grew up reading all the Superman comics in the 90s. So even though I loved Henry Cavill, I didn't think his films captured the essence of the character, and I really liked James Gunn's Superman. The prototype sculpt on this figure hasn't been convincing though, but I've heard that they've improved it, so I'm looking forward to seeing it in hand. We're going to examine this set in the light box, pose the figure in the toy room, and settle on a final score. Before we continue, may I request that you tap those like and subscribe buttons to support my channel. Here we have the front of the box, and surprisingly this box is quite big. I think it's because of that large magnetic base that's inside. I do like the design. I like that portrait of Superman, that iconic portrait I must say, flying to the top, and you've got that background that's similar to what we had in the trailer. Superman logo right up top on the left, some branding down below. Of course it says Superman, Superman and Krypto, and it has MMS 812, the serial number over here. Interestingly, the box does have a slip cover. It is a protective slip cover with the nice Superman logo. You can feel it. Feels quite nice. I am disappointed by the washed out nature of the colors, and it feels less like a design choice and more like a quality issue. Even the top of the cardboard feels kind of cheap. Maybe I'm used to the nicer in-art boxes now. Turning the box to one side, you've got the Superman logo in the center, some branding over here and here. I do like that purple gradient that gets darker as you go down. I have to admit, the design on the back of the box is pretty cool. You've got an upside down Metropolis, and you've got some warnings, you've got some legalese, some branding all around the box. Well, that's a lot of time admiring this box. Time to get to the main attraction, which I'm very excited to see. So I have to admit, the colors do look a little less washed out after you remove the slipcover, but just slightly less. You can open this and have a peek at everything inside. There you can see Superman himself, a bunch of hands, Krypto, and that magnetic base. Enough time admiring the box, it's time to get it open. As you can see, there are two layers. Top layer has Superman, some hands, Krypto. There's a manual. Right over here is everything that you need to put the base together. So we are going to start with that manual and then look at all the accessories and then have a deep look at Superman himself. But first, I can't help but take a quick look at the main attraction. Let's start with Krypto. Oh man, that looks pretty good. For a little 1/6 scale statue-like figure, I don't think it has any articulation. I do see a joint here, but no, it doesn't move. Or does it? I don't know. Probably have to read the manual. Don't want to break this. Wow, that is so cute. The cape is wired. That's pretty cool. I love the Superman logo, very high quality. But yeah, this is a very nice mold. Oh, look at that. Okay. Well, that sculpt looks much better in hand. I don't know why it looks so bad in the pictures and even in some of the reviews we've seen. I think the lighting has not been the best. That sculpt is very good. It's not perfect, but it is very good. I definitely see the actor David Cornsweet in this. Honestly, I was planning to just pick this up and sell it, but it looks pretty good, at least in hand. But yeah, look at that. The paint applications are gorgeous. And the mold, pretty good. Again, not a 10 out of 10, but definitely a solid 7 out of 10. Eyes look really nicely painted. Very glassy. Hair mold is excellent. Really beautifully painted again. And they've got that little Superman twirl down quite well. Man, this is a really good sculpt. in hand, it does not have the harshness that I saw in the blogger photos and even some of the other reviews. I think if you don't have the right lighting for this, it will look a bit too harsh. The eyes maybe just a little too big, but still really good. I am very pleased with this. Hot Toys has definitely improved the sculpt. Body looks pretty good. The proportions seem just a little bit off, which is Hot Toys' weakness. But I like how the suit feels. That is one area where, for me, Hot Toys always beats in art. The feel of the costume feels realistic, feels thick enough. And when you take an in-art Superman like Man of Steel, it feels so soft, almost like a nightgown. It doesn't should be that soft. Always a good idea to check your manual to avoid damaging your figure. After all, these are expensive collectibles that are getting more expensive by the year, so you have to be selective and careful. I love that pose over there. Can't wait to try that with the cape. Teaches you how to manipulate the eyes, how to articulate your figure. Interestingly, it seems like it has pretty decent articulation. You've got that bendable wire for styling in the cape. Tells you how to assemble the diorama. And even tells you that the dog, Krypto, has a bendable cape. So you can articulate it too. And of course you can get Krypto on the stand. He is not magnetic, unfortunately, but Superman is. That's about it. As expected, the manual is kind of thin. After all, there are not a lot of accessories. So as I said, this figure does not come with a lot of accessories, and that's because it comes with a really large, gorgeous diorama style base. Here we have 4 pairs of hands. And of course, you also get 1 pair of relaxed hands on his body. You've got 2 fists, got 2 thumbs up style hands, flying pose hands, and these grabby hands for when he's playing rough with Lois. Safety word is Krypto. You've got this tool to manipulate the eyes, extra wrist pegs, and of course, Krypto himself. If you've purchased a Hot Toys figure in the last 10 years, you've probably seen this tool. Nice, transparent, thick plastic. It's got that Hot Toys logo right in the center, and you can use it to manipulate the eyes quite easily. Hot Toys continues to be one of the only 1/6 scale companies to give extra wrist pegs, and I hope other companies follow suit because it can be very frustrating when you break your pegs. Here is a sample of the hands, and very nice hands as usual. By Hot Toys, excellent molds. You can see the knuckles, you can see the veins, and the skin texture very nicely painted. Love this skin tone, nice and complex, light where it should be, darker where it should be. Good job by Hot Toys. This is a beautiful Krypto figurine by Hot Toys. I say figurine because it does not articulate. Even though there is a line that looks like a joint here, I try to move the arm, I can't. So if someone can, let me know. I don't want to damage it. Really, look at that face. So cute. Love how the eyes are painted and they're shining under the light. There's a little bit of moisture on the nose. One ear is up, one ear is down, just like the film. Highly detailed. Look at that collar. Very nicely painted. Very clean paint lines. And there's a bit of white over here just to show that some of the fur is coming onto the collar. Very nicely done. Love the Superman badge over here. And I love the Superman badge on the cape. I don't know if it's a badge. I should say symbol, but yeah. And of course, this cape can be articulated. It is wired. Nice thick fabric. So that is really cool. Look at that. I guess this is where the peg goes for the stand. But yeah, as I said in my first impressions, highly detailed and really good paint applications. Look at those cute paws. Fur looks great. At the end of the day, it just looks like a very fancy Christmas ornament. Okay, so this is the second layer of accessories. This is all the base stuff. And unfortunately, my light box is too small to get an overhead camera shot. So I have to lay this down. But as you can see, it is a very nice, high quality base. And I think Hot Toys always does these dioramas and bases better than other third-party companies like InArt, because I think they're just more connected. I think they have more resources. They're a bigger company. So they can probably outsource these things to professional diorama makers. And InArt, I think, struggles a little bit when it comes to accessories like bases and dioramas. But yeah, this is so beautiful. I love the Superman logo. Looks really nice from the base. It's a very nice translucent style plastic that kind of shines. So it doesn't light up. I wish it did. Maybe like a white light, but still, it is very nice. And as I said, very good, high quality plastic. I especially love all the snow effects. You can see little specks of snow on that blue translucent plastic. Looks really beautiful. Does look like this is from the Fortress of Solitude. Of course, the base part has more snow on it, but the crystals at the back, you can see little specks of snow, and that is really nicely done. So this base is really nice, and then you have the option to use a magnetic stand, or you can use this old-fashioned flight thing. And I would highly recommend you not use this because I've had bad luck with Hot Toys and these type of flight poles because they just seem to damage the fabric. I've had it happen with some Superman figures, some Batman figures. It just damages the fabric, so I would not use this. The good news is that if you don't want to use this old-fashioned waist grabber over here, and you don't want to leave it looking ugly, you can just use this. And that covers it up very nicely. So that is very thoughtful from Hot Toys. Likewise, if you do end up wanting to use the crotch grabber like some kind of psycho, then you leave this open here because you're not going to put the magnetic flight pole here. So instead they give you this little piece just to cover it up. Of course, if you want to use the magnetic pole, simply put this one instead of that little piece there. I'm going to take this out, put the magnetic one in because that is what I intend to use. A concern a lot of people had about this base is that even though it looks really nice, it can't fit in a detolf. Well, just pull this piece out and there you go. Fits in a detolf quite easily. I personally love the magnetic attachment, so what I'm going to do is put it on top of the detolf. So if you want to put Krypto next to Soups, you just attach him to his little cheap transparent base here. It's serviceable. I wish it was a bit better. I wish there was a way to have him fly off the main base. This does give you some freedom. You can put him where you want. So you might be wondering, how well does that tiny magnet hold this huge body up? And pretty well. Look at that. I know that doesn't look great, but look at how well it's just holding that body up. That is incredible. Just a tiny looking magnet, but it is quite powerful. I thought it would be fun to compare the new base with the old 1978 Superman Hot Toys base. And I like them both. I can't decide which one I like more. The old one has its own charm. Let me know in the comments which base you prefer. The old 1978 Superman Christopher Reeve base or this new one for 2025 Superman. Quality of the soft goods on this are very nice. So InArt has been using softer and softer fabric even when it doesn't make sense. For example, on the Superman figure, even the boots on the Man of Steel figure are very, very soft. It's just fabric. It's just nonsensical. And I don't know why people don't call them out on it. Hot Toys are usually more rubbery feeling suits. They feel a bit more realistic, but they have gone with a softer material. So this is a bit more like InArt. This is soft, it's fabric, but it is still thicker. It still feels realistic. And especially the boots, as you can see, they are rubber or they are some sort of leather, and that works. Really gorgeous mold, of course. You can see all the ripples on the boots and nicely shaded, nicely dyed. So the boots look really good and are screen accurate too. And again, highly detailed. You can see all those lines, and these lines are thicker, almost feels like rubber or pleather on top. Love the Superman logo, and I am really happy that it is very symmetrical right in the center. And there were some faults with it in the prototype, but they have fixed it. So that is very pleasing. with all that detail around the belt. Nicely done. Great detailing on the costume at the back as well. Even the soles of the boots have the appropriate detailing. So that's pretty good. That is so beautiful. Love the Superman symbol. It's like a piece of rubber that they've glued on top, and it looks really nice, feels very nice. I like how they've cut it below the neck, just like in the film. This is of course wired as well, so we're gonna have some fun with the posing. And yeah, at the end, I just want to say nice, heavy body. Feels like a premium figure. So we are going to do some articulation as well. But yeah, I am very happy with this. So let's give Superman a bit of a spin, just to have a 360-degree look. I'd say it took quite a while to adjust that cape. I prefer drape capes, and I really appreciate that InArt gives you two capes with their Superman figures. You've got the drape cape and the wired cape, but with the Hot Toys, you don't get a lot of accessories, and here you only have the wired cape, and it was a bit of a challenge to get it to look the way I want. It still doesn't look how I want exactly, but this is the best I could do in 15 minutes. I bend the wire at the back, the front goes in a different direction and vice versa, so it took a while to find that balance. But anyway, this figure looks absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful soft goods as we saw earlier, and really nicely detailed. And I like the changes in blue coloring on the costume that match what we saw on screen. But what I especially love is that chest logo looks so good, and the boots, again, I appreciate that they feel like boots, unlike InArt Superman, which kind of feel like cloth for some reason. But anyway, he looks really good straight up in a museum pose. The proportions are very good, but there's still a little bit left to be desired. I watched some of the stills from the film again just to do a comparison, and they're almost there, but there is something off. And that's where InArt does better than Hot Toys. I find that the proportions are more accurate on their toys. But yeah, side profile, outstanding. And the cape, you know, looks so beautiful from the back. Again, that part at the neck, very accurate to what we saw in the film. The Superman symbol at the back might look a bit crooked, but that's just because how I've hung the cape right now. It is actually very symmetrical. Again, proportions look really good, and this is a fantastic looking toy. And I'm so glad that they improved that head sculpt, because there was something off in the blogger photos and it is much improved. Time to check out the articulation. I'm going to be a bit gentle with it because I don't want to damage the costume, and I'm obviously not sponsored by anyone. So head turns left, turns right quite freely. Looks down, looks up really nicely, which is pretty good for a Superman figure and pretty important. Tilts left, tilts right. Shoulder, shrugs and lifts. Moves forward. I think it can move forward much more, but I don't want to risk anything. Very nice. Again, excellent. Bicep turns. Nice double jointed elbow. Wrist rotates. Waist turns. Ab crunch. Pretty good. Very happy so far. No ab joint, unfortunately. Thighs rotate. Leg moves back. Moves forward. I'm sure it can do more, but again, I don't want to crease the suit. Sorry about that. Double jointed knee. And excellent ankle pivot on these seamless boots. I love these boots. They are absolutely gorgeous. And overall, I think the articulation on this figure is top notch. I realized that I could have pushed it further, but again, I paid for this with my own cash, so I'm not sponsored. I don't want to risk damaging it. I will give it thumbs up for the articulation. And of course, if you want to articulate the eyes, simply take off the sculpt. And as you can see, there are a couple of levers, and you can move those levers around to manipulate the eyes. So I'm just going to try and make him look to the left, I guess. Well, I'm doing it to the right, so there you go. He's looking to the right now. Looking up like a psychopath. So yeah, you can manipulate the eyes quite easily. I don't think you really need that tool. You can do it on your own and have no issues. So while we're on the subject of articulation, I guess we should also look at that cape. And as mentioned before, the wire goes all the way through and all the way through the base. So you can get some very cool poses with this cape. Now that we've seen the figure in great detail and checked out the articulation, it's time to take Soups to the toy room for some fun poses. Let's take another look at this Superman toy, this time under the portrait lens. As I said, this sculpt is very impressive from different angles. I love the paint applications, and I think the likeness is really good, especially that kindness on his face. I think Hot Toys has really captured that expression quite well. The proportions are just a little bit off, better than Hot Toys' usual fare, but slightly bulky. The soft goods are quite good, especially those beautiful seamless boots. They're made of a nice soft plastic, allow for full articulation. I love them. The soft goods overall are a mix of fabric and plastic, so they do feel premium, but they don't feel too soft, unlike InArt Superman. I absolutely adore this magnetic diorama. I am so surprised by how powerful it is. It's a tiny magnet, but it has held up Superman in this position for weeks. The only issue I have is that it holds him at an awkward angle. It doesn't hold him up straight, it is slightly to the left, and I wish it was straighter. Here is another shot of Superman, this time outdoors, and I think it looks even better under natural lighting. Time for some size comparisons, and on the right we have InArt's Man of Steel Superman, and of course on the left we have the toy we're reviewing in this video, Hot Toys 2025 James Gunn's Superman. And you really have to give credit to InArt for all this competition that has forced Hot Toys to step up their game. For example, the quality of the soft goods on this toy are much better than their earlier Superman releases, which were a bit too rubbery. Now it's softer, more fabric-like, but still it retains that balance. It still feels like a Superman suit, and I think that InArt has gone a bit too far with the fabric. This is just way too soft. It feels like something you'd wear when you go to sleep, and you can still kind of excuse the suit, even though it's not authentic because he was essentially wearing a wetsuit. And I guess you can excuse that a little bit, but why are the boots so soft? They should feel like leather boots. And on the other hand, Hot Toys has done a great job here. I think they've struck a great balance where the soft goods feel soft and high quality, but it still feels authentic. Okay, so now we have classic Superman by Hot Toys on the right, and this, even today, is such a great toy. You can't believe that this is a 10 or 15-year-old design by Hot Toys. It looks like it came out a few years ago. They put a lot of heart and soul into this. The proportions, the costume, the coloring, and even the sculpt, all very good for a very old toy. Okay, now we have Hot Toys Supergirl on the right, and these two display okay together. I don't think they really match. This is probably one of the more disappointing figures in my collection. The articulation on this is really poor. It doesn't even have any waist articulation or anything on the chest, so it's very, very strange. Hot Toys really cutting costs with this figure. The head sculpt improved over the prototype, but still not a great figure. Continuing with the Zack Snyder universe, on the right we have BVS Batman 2.0 by Hot Toys. I actually just took this figure out of the box. I haven't really posed it too much, so he does look like he's had some Taco Bell and he's looking constipated. Sorry about that, but these two kind of pose well together. Now we have in-art Batman from the Batman, and these two figures actually look pretty good together, even though of course they don't belong in the same universe. This is from a very realistic, grounded universe, and that Superman is from a more comic book style universe. I look forward to seeing the Batman in James Gunn's universe, of course. Now we have classic 89 Batman by Hot Toys version 1.0 on the right. These two figures look pretty good together. Just to give you guys an idea of how big a 1/6 scale figure is compared to a 1/12 scale figure, on the right we have McFarlane's Superman from the Superman film. And even though it's a budget figure, it is a lot of fun. Okay, now just to show you how big of a nerd I am, we have Superman in the center. On the right, you have the Superman drink cup from the cinema, and on the left, you have the Superman popcorn bucket. These are the Canadian versions, so I don't know if international versions vary from what I have here. My final score for Hot Toys Superman and Krypto is going to be 4 out of 5 stars. I really love this set. The sculpt is, dare I say, better than the upcoming in-art release. Not only is the likeness good, but it somehow captures the kindness of the last son of Krypton. The soft goods are excellent, especially the articulated boots. The proportions are very good by Hot Toy standards, and that magnetic modular base is very impressive. Of course, the figure is not perfect. I wish we had a heat vision sculpt. Krypto could have used some more detailing, and although the modular base is nice, it keeps Superman at a bizarre angle. The proportions, while good, are still a touch too bulky. These misgivings aside, this is a great set. If you can't wait for the in-art release, you should certainly pick this up. That's my review, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out my other videos, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Until next time.